Hello and welcome to Cinnabar Collectibles, and today we're going to be talking about the Miraidon EX deck, which came third place at the Milwaukee Regionals. With Black Bolt and White Flare set to release in July, this deck is well positioned to tear up the meta. Before we start this deck list, don't forget to leave a like, a comment and subscribe down below. Are you going to be using this deck? So let's have a little look at the current Miraidon EX deck. First of all, you'll need 2 copies of Miraidon EX with the amazing ability Tandem Unit. Once you're on your turn, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic lightning Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Then you have to shuffle your deck. Now this is a great way to get into your Pikachu EX or your Iron Hands EX and get those very vital Joltics. You'll also need 2 copies of Joltik with the Jolting Charge attack, which allows you to search your deck for up to 2 basic Grass Energy cards and up to 2 basic Lightning Energy cards, and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. And this is a great way to power up your Pikachu EX because he has a very awkward attack cost. You'll also need 1 copy of Galvantula with the ability Compound Eyes, which means that attacks used by this Pokemon do 50 more damage to opponent's active Pokemon that has no ability. His Shocking Web attack does 50 damage, plus 80 damage if there are any Lightning Energy attached to him. Then you'll need 2 copies of Pikachu EX with the amazing Resolute Heart ability, which means that Pikachu cannot be one-hit KO'd. He has to already have damage put on it. And then he's got the amazing Topaz Bolt, which does 300 damage, which can knock out most Pokemon. It does fall a little bit short for Dragapult EX and for Charizard EX, but you are getting most other EX cards. Then you'll need 2 copies of Iron Hands EX, and it's that Amp You Very Much attack which makes this so deadly. If your opponent's Pokemon is knocked out by damage from this attack, you get to take 1 more prize card. Then we need 1 Pheasantipede EX with that amazing Flip the Script ability, which is allowed to draw 3 cards if one of our Pokemon were knocked out by our opponent's attack last turn. Then we're using a Mew EX with the amazing Restart ability, which allows us to draw cards until we have 3 in hand. Then we have Latios EX with the amazing ability Skyliner, which means that our basic Pokemon in play have no retreat cost. Then we have the amazing Blood Moon Ursaluna EX with his Season Skill ability, which means that the cost of Blood Moon goes down by 1 energy for each prize card our opponent has taken. And he's a great late game card because you can then do 240, hoping to take out some knockouts. We then have Genesect with his Ace Nullifier. If this Pokemon has any Pokemon tools attached to it, your opponent can't play any Ace Spec cards from their hand, which means you don't have to then worry about Prime Catcher or Unfair Stamp. Then we have Iron Leaves EX, which is great because when you play it from your hand, you then get to put it into the active and you get to move any amount of energy from your other Pokemon to this Pokemon, which means that Iron Leaves can come into play and automatically get all the 3 energies it needs to do its attack Prism Edge for 180. It's a great way of picking up some very quick KOs early on. And then we have the Dragapult EX counter, Lily's Clefairy EX, and that is in there because Dragapult EX is so popular with 40% of the meta so far. It's in there as our Dragapult counter because it makes Dragon Pokemon weak to Psychic. And by making Dragapult weak to Psychic, it means Lily's Clefairy EX can knock it out all on its own. Then we're running 4 copies of Arven, so we can get our Pokemon tools, and we can also get an item card. Then we're running 4 copies of Crispin, so we can take 2 basic energy cards of different types, put 1 into our hand, and we can attach the other, which then means we get to attach 2 energies for that turn. We're running 4 copies of Boss's Orders, because this deck loves stalling our opponent, getting our opponent into the wrong Pokemon, so we can take knockouts and make it awkward for them to play around. We're also playing 1 copy of Iono to cause some hand disruption to our opponent. We're running 4 copies of Nest Ball, so we can get into our Miraidons, because then we can get Miraidon, we can use Tandem Unit, which means for 1 Nest Ball, we're getting Miraidon, and then we can get 2 extra Lightning Pokemon. We're running 3 copies of Pokegear 3.0, so we can find some more supporters in our deck. We're also running 3 copies of Ultra Ball, so we can search again for any Pokemon in our deck. Running 1 copy of Prime Catcher, which allows us to gust up one of our opponent's Pokemon, but we have to change as well. But if we're using a Latios, it doesn't matter because we can then retreat back into whatever we want to use to knock out our opponent. We're also using a Night Stretcher, so we can take an energy or a Pokemon out of our discard, put it to our hand. We're going to use 1 copy of Earthen Vessel, so we can discard a card from hand to choose 2 energies from our deck. We're running 2 copies of Bravery Charm, which gives the attached Pokemon plus 50 HP. We're running 1 Future Booster Energy Capsule, which helps our Iron Hands EX, because now he's doing 20 more damage and he also gets free retreat. We're also running 1 Rescue Board, which reduces the cost of retreat for one of our Pokemon by 1, allowing us early game if we use Arven. We can attach it to one of our Pokemon, retreat them for free, hopefully into a Joltik, who can then power up our bench. Then we're going to be running 5 copies of Grass Energy, 5 copies of Lightning Energy, 2 copies of Psychic Energy, and 2 copies of Metal Energy. Now with White Flare and Black Bolt, there are going to be some amazing additions to this deck. There's going to be an electric with the ability Dynamotor, which means that once during your turn, you may attach a lightning energy card from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. Another way then to attach energy to this deck, making it even quicker. And one of the new stars to this deck will be the Zekrom EX. His first attack only does 50 damage, but then his second attack does 130 plus 50 more damage for each prize card your opponent has taken. This Pokemon also does 30 damage to itself, and you can pair this up with the Magneton from Surging Sparks, with its Overvolt Discharge. What happens is you can knock the Magneton out, which means that you have to give up a prize for your opponent, but you get to then attach 3 basic energies from your discard pile to your electric Pokemon in any way you like, which means you could then put all 3 straight onto the Zekrom, so he can attack for 130, but because the Magneton just knocked himself out, it would already be doing 180 damage. If your opponent's taken 2 prizes, it's 230. 3 prizes, 280, you're knocking out most Pokemon, and then for 4 prizes, you're doing 330 damage, which means that you're one-shotting most Pokemon. You're taking out Charizard, you're now taking out Dragapult, unless they've got any hero capes attached. Other than that, you are now one-shotting any Pokemon in the game, which is why I think this deck is going to be next level on the meta. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of Miraidon EX in the future, especially paired with Zekrom EX and that amazing electric. With these additions, I can't help but keep looking over at this deck and think I can't wait to run it to see what absolute havoc it will cause. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, a comment and subscribe. Let me know, are you going to be using this deck in the future? Are you looking forward to the release of Black Bolt and White Flare as well? Thank you again for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you and good night.